to the August 16th agenda meeting, South Plainfield Mayor and Council. This meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting being provided to the borough's 2 official newspapers and published on the borough's website. Ms. Antonides, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Benjavanga. Councilwoman Faustini. We don't think he's logged on yet. Councilwoman Mott.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman Bullock.
Here.
Council President White.
Here.
Thank you. Can you take us through a review of tonight's agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This evening we have 2 matters on for the release of a performance bond. We have 2 matters on for executive session. One pertains to personnel for police telecommunicator, and one is personnel for DPW mechanic helper. We have the approval of council minutes for July 12th and August 2nd. There are 2 ordinances on for a second reading by title, and the agenda shows 3 ordinances on for first reading by title. However, we will be tabling ordinance number 2212 to the September 7th meeting. There were 20 resolutions on this evening, 8 matters of correspondence, and payment of bills totaling $3,093,731.58. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, do we need to vote on tabling the ordinance? Is that okay? 22?
Yes.
We need to, okay.
Yes, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right, can I get a motion to table resolution
So moved.
22-12?
Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Wolak. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so 2212 is tabled. Can I also get a motion for executive session
So moved.
tonight? Resolution 21-231.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, council comments on agenda items.
None.
Not here.
Okay, seeing none. Okay, we have a public hearing for the release of a performance bond posted by Stefan Zaremba for public improvements to Block 174, Lot 14. Amy, all is in good order?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do we have anyone representing Mr. Zaremba? Okay. Any council comments on the release of the performance bond to Block 174, Lot 14?
Nothing, Mayor.
None here.
Okay. And then also, everything is in order for the release of performance bond on Harvard Avenue for Block 347, lots 8.10 and 8.11. Do we have anybody representing Harvard Avenue? Mr. Stillo, welcome. Council comments on the release of that performance bond, Block 347, lot 810 and 811?
Nothing, Mayor.
No, sir.
Okay. So at this point, we will open it up for public hearing on the release of 2 performance bonds. Again, the first posted for public improvements to Block 174, Lot 14. The second is a minor subdivision for public improvements to Block 347, lots 8.10 and 8.11. Public comments? If you're on the WebEx, you can use the raise your hand functionality and just state your name. If you have any public comments in relation to the release of the performance bonds. Okay, seeing none, close the public portion. Those are on for tonight's agenda. And at this point, we'll open it up for public comments on agenda items only. Okay, again, anyone online, you can use the raise hand functionality. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. Can I get a motion to adjourn tonight's agenda?
I don't see a hand raise button here anywhere. Is there?
Yeah, it's on the, that's fine, it's on the right-hand side. Do you have a question on an agenda item, sir?
Yes, please.
If you could just state your name for the clerk.
Yes, please. In me okay?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with SativaCross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey. We advocate for disabled rights, disabled vets, cannabis patients. And want to talk about your ordinance that's banning medical cannabis. This ordinance is hurtful to disabled vets. If you've ever seen a disabled vet in a wheelchair, you'd want to do everything you can for them and not disrupt the supply chain of their medicine. Disrupting the supply chain of medicine to vets and troops is a wartime move. That's something you do when you want to kill the other guys. Why are we at war with our own troops here? Why aren't we helping them? Why aren't we helping people in wheelchairs get the medicine that they need? Why are we stigmatizing God's medicine and not all the pharmaceuticals that are going around in New Jersey? I don't understand this ordinance at all. It's hurtful to vets, it's hurtful to the working class, it's hurtful to a lot of people, it's hurtful to sick and dying people with cancer. And I'll ask you guys, I'll ask every councilman, but spend a day in a wheelchair and see how hard it is to get around in a wheelchair. I've seen your town, I've been through your town a lot of times. I used to live in East Brunswick, and I used to live in South River, and I used to go all over the place down there, and your wheelchair access is terrible. If you're in a wheelchair, you basically have to drive in the street when there's no sidewalks. You have businesses all over South Plainfield with no wheelchair access, and there's no plans for wheelchair access. Here it's 2021, and there's no wheelchair access. And you're banning medicine for people that are in wheelchairs when you don't even have wheelchair access. I mean, it's a very bad look for you guys when you have a disabled vet that needs medicine in your town that can't even get around in your town. You expect us to get it delivered. Well, we don't have delivery. The dispensaries can't make money off delivery, so we don't have that. They passed these laws years ago, and we're still waiting for delivery. The sick and the dying are still waiting. Disabled vets have guns in their mouths waiting, ready to blow their brains out, and they're waiting for their medicine to be delivered. It's still not being delivered. It's still being banned. I got a friend in Long Beach Island. His medicine was banned. Where is he going to go? He has to go an hour to get his medicine. What are we doing for our vets? What are you doing for our vets? Why aren't you helping the sick and the dying instead of putting roadblocks and hoops for them to jump through? We need people to help us. We're getting taxed by the state. Our medicine is being taxed. How would you feel if your insulin was taxed, or your heart medicine, or your anxiety medicine was taxed? Well, we're getting taxed. Our medicine is not covered by insurance. We need your help, man. Why aren't you helping us? Please help us and revisit this ordinance and help the disabled vets that need your help, and help the cancer patients that need your help. We need help. And that's all I have to say. I'll end with this. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fought with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I don't know if there's any council comments regarding that, but.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, okay.
As a veteran, under the ordinance, it states under cannabis, cannabis does not
Chief,
include
use-
medical cannabis
use your mic.
dispensed or registered to the qualified patients pursuant to the Jake Honig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act.
What's that? Yeah, I'm sorry. Pete, can you just put the mic and then repeat some of that? What was?
Sure.
I know it was
In
very-
the ordinance,
Yeah.
under cannabis, the last sentence says, cannabis does not include medical cannabis dispensed or registered to qualified patients pursuant to the Jake Honig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act.
Yeah, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this ordinance, there is no power for the governing body to just approve medical marijuana through this ordinance. Okay, so that's correct. The borough does not have the ability just to regulate medical marijuana. In previous rounds, I forget how dispensaries were selected across the state, and I think there's one in Woodbridge, right? There might be some others.
There's a cultivation center in Branchburg as well.
Yeah, but so unfortunately, what we had, or what the council had before us today, and actually with deadlines where the regulatory body of the state, the Cannabis Commission, has not even passed regulations yet, But the municipalities, not just South Plainfield, all municipalities across the state of New Jersey are required to weigh in on all non-medical uses or medical applications of it through an ordinance that essentially has to be adopted, pretty soon. And so again, that includes retail, it also includes warehousing and cultivation and a whole bunch of other, distribution. But again, retail use, not medical use. So medical use isn't up for debate today, unfortunately, and it couldn't be up for debate again because the state does not give us any power to regulate that by passing an ordinance tonight. I don't know if there's any other council comments regarding that.
That's important, thank you.
I
Yep.
think that was sufficient.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
And
service,
thank
by
you
the
for
way.
your service.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
service.
Any other council comments on agenda items only? And again, if you're online, feel free to just unmute yourself and state your name, or use the raise your hand functionality. Hold on just one second. Was there anybody else online that had a question? Okay.
Yes, I would like to speak about my journey with medical cannabis and how much it's helped me.
Okay, Marina,
I am
if you could just state your name for the clerk.
Mayor,
An
it
address?
might be better, if anyone wants to come on a medical marijuana, it really should wait the hearing.
Yeah, that's a good
In
point.
the regular meeting, this really isn't the time for this back and forth.
That's fair. All right, how about we do this? Since the ordinance is up for adoption today in the actual public meeting, if we could just take any ordinance-related questions, especially related to the medical or related to the marijuana ordinance at this point, we will certainly open that up for public comment specifically on the ordinance, and at that point, you can address those concerns. So, Maureen, if you could just hold off until we get to the public meeting.
Can I,
All right, thank you very much.
Not medical related?
no, just asking about it.
If that, anything to do with marijuana at all regarding the ordinance, we're going to hold those off to the actual public meeting when we adopt the ordinance.
In a little while.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything else that does not include that ordinance? Any other public comments? Okay, we are going to close the public portion. Can I get a motion to adjourn tonight's agenda meeting?
So
Motion.
moved.
Motion by Councilman Wallach, seconded by Council President White. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, seeing no reason to delay, we'll go right to the public meeting again. This meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting also being provided to the borough's 2 official newspapers and published on the borough's website. Ms. Antonides, will you call the roll once more?
Count,
Count,
I'm new with this council, it's been a long time. Want to make a public comment on something, but we have to, not this time, is just about ordinances now?
We're going to open the public session up briefly at the public. That's okay.
Councilman
Councilman
Benjavanga?
Benjavanga?
Here.
Should I unmute? all the-
Just mute yourself, yeah. I don't think we need your
Okay.
well,
Councilwoman Faustini?
Here.
Got it. Councilwoman Mott?
Here.
Councilman Smith?
Here.
Councilman Bullock?
Here.
Council President White?
Here.
Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Councilman Wallach. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, bless this governing body. Grant it the courage and wisdom to make fair and just decisions for our community. Amen.
Amen.
Glenn, you want to do executive session now before we open it up for public comment? All right. All right, so we're going to open it up again for public comments on agenda items only. The bond ordinance, Mr. Rizzo, is that fine? We do those later? All right. Non-medical, or non-marijuana related ordinance, public comments on agenda items. Is your public comment on a,
Not on an agenda, not on your agenda, my agenda, but not
yeah, but it's regarding marijuana?
no, sir.
Okay, so something completely after. Okay, all right, so that's at the very end, unfortunately. All right, close the public comment period. All right, can I get a motion to approve the council minutes for July 12th agenda, public and executive, and the August 2nd special meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Wolak. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga? Councilwoman Faustini?
I'm going to recuse as I was not at the special meeting.
Okay. Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right. Ordinances for final adoption. Ordinance 2207.
An ordinance prohibiting all classes of cannabis licensed businesses in residential, commercial, and historical downtown districts, and permitting licensed cannabis business classes, 2 for manufacturer, 3 for wholesaler, 4 for distributor, within designated areas of the M3 zone within the geographical boundaries of the borough of South Plainfield.
Okay. Can I get a motion for final adoption on ordinance 2207?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Wolak, seconded by Councilwoman Mott. Again, as this is for final adoption, at this point now, we will open up for public comments regarding the final adoption on ordinance 2207. Marina, I think we'll start with Marina online. Marina, you can unmute yourself, just state your name and address for the clerk, and then you can proceed with your comment.
Marina Redmond, 3 Borough Square, Parley, New Jersey. Let's discuss medical cannabis and how much it's helping. It's helping PTSD and cancer. Between the ages of 1 and 4.5, I had to have lots of surgeries on my left leg. And it triggered, because I was in the hospital so young, I really got PTSD. It was horrible. Your parents weren't allowed to stay over. When you were wheeled in the operating room, you couldn't have your stuffed animal. They would rip it out of your hands. You couldn't even have your mother walk you in like they do now. When your mother sits you and, tells you everything's going to be okay. No, that didn't happen to me. It was scary. And then unfortunately, in 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. Within 3 weeks, I lost 50 pounds because none of the medicine they gave me, pharmaceutical medicine they gave me, worked. I was so sick, I couldn't live. I was curled up in a ball vomiting. I couldn't even walk. It was hard for me to walk up and down the stairs and walk into the kitchen. And I had no appetite. Once I started taking this wonderful medicine, it was a game changer. I was able to eat. I was able to live. My doctor would tell me, before treatment, smoke out in the parking lot. And if you're still not feeling good during your half of your treatment, try and go out in the parking lot and smoke. Which I don't know if any of you have been on through chemo. That's like next to impossible. But how many doctors would tell you, go smoke out in the parking lot? And that one of the side effects of chemo is making you very agitated. My mother would say, please go upstairs and smoke. How many parents would tell you to go upstairs and smoke? I also take it for also PTSD when I see other doctors. Other doctors will tell me, please smoke before you see me because of your PTSD, because of your anxiety. This is just medicine. There's over 280 Walgreens in the state of New Jersey, almost 400 or over 400 CVS's. You actually have 2 doctors in your town that prescribe medical cannabis. One is an anesthetist and one is a family practice physician. You have 65 psychiatrists that prescribe medical cannabis in your town. As Edward Lefty Grimes was saying, that there's vets right now probably have a gun in their mouth, about ready to pull the trigger because they can't get their medicine, because they have to drive somewhere, and they don't drive because they don't have money for an Uber or for a Lyft that could cost $30 to $50 one way. And it's hard. And then you say to delivery, that's also an added charge. And then some people have Access Link, which the disabled call access thing, because sometimes it doesn't even go there. And back to Uber and Lyft, if you have a service dog, someone will say, well, I'm allergic to dogs, I can't have that dog in there. It's just horrible. So I just thank you so much. Like I said, I'm so grateful that you are considering, or that you did okay medical cannabis. And if you want to ask me any questions, I'm an open book. Please do. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Just for clarification, medical cannabis is not covered in this ordinance, nor can it be by the powers granted or to the municipalities through the state of New Jersey on this voter.
Is the town council for it?
I mean, I don't know what the town council is for, but physically and legally, they cannot approve, medical marijuana tonight. That has nothing to do with the medical, or that has nothing to do with the marijuana ordinance that's on for discussion today. That it only applies to not residential, recreational marijuana.
For medical, to help out your people in your town, to let them not suffer. Because I'm sure you have PTSD, I'm sure you have vets in your town, I'm sure you, unfortunately, it saddens me to say this, people deal with cancer, multiple sclerosis, and all these other things. Are you for medical cannabis to help people in your town?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that is prescribed and uses medical marijuana today, so I'm not opposed to medical marijuana. It's just not something that we can contemplate today. There is no power that grants the municipality, any municipality now through what's in front of the municipalities within New Jersey, the ability to approve, medical marijuana, retail marijuana shops or anything like that. That's not what's in front of the governing body today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, anyone else online?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, if you could just state your name for the clerk and your address.
Yes, my name is Hugh Giordano, 57 Argyle Avenue, Blackwood, New Jersey. Council, I'm here today as a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. The United Food and Commercial Workers Union, which is also called the UFCW, is a national labor union of 1.3 million hardworking families, and we are the official cannabis labor union that represents workers from seed to sale, both medical and adult use, under the guise of the AFL-CIO. And we also are working in conjunction with our union brothers and sisters in the NJ building trades, such as IBEW, the steam fitters, the carpenters, the laborers. But S21 also has language. S21 is the adult use bill, I'm sorry, and the medical. Jake Tonic Act also has labor standards in it too, for the build out and retrofit of facilities. So it's a shovel to sale union job if done correctly, which we're hoping the state will continue to do. I am glad to hear that you're allowing some of the industry into the borough, and we hope that it will only grow from there. One of the things that I do want to let you know is that we currently represent workers in New Jersey in the medical field, and our members have degrees in botany, horticulture, chemistry. We even have pharmacists that work in the retail facilities. So whether it's adult use and or medical, the mindset of these workers, our members, is always professional. I would say to the same level as if you walked into a pharmacy at a Rite Aid or a supermarket pharmacy, the same level of skill, professionalism, and regulatory compliance, which protects workers, protects patients and consumers. One of the things too I want to suggest is a merit-based application system. There's these companies, whether we represent them or not, the truth is that the majority of them now are becoming major firms that are Canadian-owned, buying big land in South America and Europe as we speak. And these are not mom and pop shops. So I think a merit-based application system like the City of Bayonne passed, along with Bass River, Montclair, and Highland Park, it looks at labor standards. If they fought workers' rights, if they don't have labor peace agreements, if they don't have project labor agreements, if they don't have collective bargaining agreements, and or they fought workers who wanted to organize in other states. Who says they won't do it here? And the same thing with environmental standards. If they polluted in a cultivation site or used illegal pesticides or herbicides, that hurts patients, workers, and adult use consumers. So there should be those types of standards and things in place to protect working class people. On top of that, the Bayonne ordinance also has local ownership, security standards, and a host of other standards such as research, these are all important to the community and safety. So we would hope that you would take that leadership and adopt a merit-based system as well. In closing, just want to say I'm glad to hear that there is not a ban, at least on medical. I think if you are to allow retail, it's okay to go slow. Start with one medical facility to help working people out from having to drive an hour away. That would be really a good start. And on behalf of the UFCW and the AFL-CIO and our brothers and sisters of the building trades, we thank you for at least opening up the industry and providing some sort of access to good middle-class jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Anyone else online? Nancy?
Nancy's on mute.
I think she was off mute. Nancy, you're on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
I just want a clarification on what it means, manufacturer, wholesale, and distributor. Does that mean that they're going to be growing marijuana in some of our industrial? What does that mean?
No, that's the growing, it would be a cultivator. So it pretty much includes everything but growing and retail.
And it'll be in the industrial, it won't be anywhere in a store in downtown or anything?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And who's going to oversee all of the, whatever regulations there are?
Well,
Who's going to go with
that's part of my earlier comment. So the state board has not passed all those regulations that would apply to retail, or any of those categories, distribution, warehousing, cultivation. So we don't know. My guess is, ultimately the state will through the regulatory body. But when you're talking about warehousing and stuff like that, those applications will come in front of the planning board or zoning boards. Obviously, it'll have to adhere to the ordinance and anything that is passed by the state that might specifically apply to, let's say, a warehouser or distributor of recreational marijuana. Make sense? You're welcome. Anyone else? Anyone else online? And then we will go to those, since we have a nice, healthy crowd today. All right. Seeing none other online, is there anybody in the council chambers that has a question regarding the recreational marijuana ordinance 2207? Yes. Just make sure, just for the benefit of those online, to adjust that mic so that it'll pick up your comments. Again, just state your name and address for the clerk.
Okay, my name is Stephanie Bonanno. I live on Grant Avenue in South Plainfield. So my concern is that, okay, this is recreational, okay, for 21 and older. What is going to prevent it from getting to younger children? Like alcohol is for 21 and older, but
Right.
the kids get the alcohol. What is going to prevent the kids from getting the marijuana, the cannabis?
In what aspect? So the borough is not contemplating, this ordinance does not allow for retail distribution in the borough.
But there will be a way, if they want it, there will be a way for them to get it.
Yes. I mean, towns across New Jersey are going to pass retail marijuana.
The reason why I'm questioning this is South Plainfield is a family-oriented town. It's for the children, worry about the children and the teens and all that. That is my concern. I don't have kids. I have nieces, I have nephews, you know, people who have grandchildren, so you kind of worry about them, you know, so that's my concern, that it would get to them, and then if they try it, and if they like it, and then they want something stronger, see, this is where my concern is.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, younger days, high school, big thing was the drugs, and it got stronger and stronger, and as years went on. So this is my concern. The kids get it, and then it's not enough for them, and then they go into something stronger. So that's my concern about the whole thing.
So I don't know how to answer that because, again, the ordinance in front of the council as proposed is not allowing for recreational or retail operations for recreational marijuana in the borough. But to your point, and I'm not sure what every neighboring town is doing, but there will be towns within driving distance, walking distance, whatever it might be. There's nothing that we can do to prevent another town from selling or opening up retail marijuana shops. They're going to be restricted to selling it to individuals 21 and older, but beyond that,
But there's no guarantee.
there's never a guarantee. There's no guarantee. I mean, it happens with
I mean, I
cigarettes
don't know
today
if
and
there's-
alcohol today, and
Right.
it will happen with marijuana. There's no doubt.
Right.
It happens on the illegal market on
I
marijuana
mean,
today.
I don't know if you really all thought about this. I mean, I know 4 of the council voted yes and 2 voted no. So, you know, I'm sure the 2 that voted no had concerns. So
But-
that's, and
Well-
the concern I have is it getting to the younger kids, and then, God forbid, that's not enough for them, and then they want to go into something stronger. So, you know, that's what I needed to say.
Yes, but-
My opinion.
Yes, okay, and the individual council members can talk about their votes, but as the ordinance is crafted, it is allowing or permitting licensed cannabis for manufacturers, wholesalers, and distributors only within those M3 zones. So it is not allowing for retail distribution in the borough. Now, the individuals that, or the council members that voted against that, they can speak their own mind, that they may have wanted to approve nothing, or they may have wanted to approve everything. But what's presented and what is ultimately passed on first or introduction was to only allow for those 3 uses. And retail is not one of them at this point. But again, to your point, it can be, other towns are going to pass it. We know that. There is no way to prevent anybody from purchasing it and giving it to somebody of underage. Again, I think that happens across all industries, whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, and then again, there is the illegal market, and none of which I think you can 100% prevent. But there will not be, if this ordinance passes tonight, a retail recreational marijuana establishment in the borough. There will possibly, there are allowances, like I said, for wholesale and manufacturers and distributors, warehousing essentially, but that's it.
You wouldn't be able to go into any of those places and buy it and take it out. It'll stay in that store.
Yeah, but also the workers in that manufacturing company can also just get it and sell it to a teenager.
Well, they could get it from, again, if I'm a resident of Woodbridge and working in a warehouse in South Plainfield, let's say, a medical, I can go into a retail, I'm not gonna steal from my employer, right? I'm smart enough, I'm not gonna do that. I can go to any retail establishment in the state and purchase it legally, so that's, and look, you have to understand whether you're for it or against it. This was put up as a ballot question, what was it, last year, the presidential year, and it passed. The residents of the state of New Jersey passed recreational marijuana. It's legal. It will be legal. I mean, it's in the process of being legal. So that's reality, and that's collectively all of us.
Well, I
have-
just wanted to voice my opinion
Yeah.
and, you know, put it out there, so that's it. I mean, there's a lot I could say.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know,
Fair enough.
all right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Anyone else?
And I speak?
Hold on, we have one more, we have at least one person, and then I'll open it back up to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sue Mazzio, and I live on Banter Road in South Plainfield. I'm coming in late in the game here, but I was trying to read online today a little bit more about this, and it looked like there was about 6 line items, 6 classes, and it looks like the council is looking at the manufacturing, the wholesale, and distributing, as you said earlier. And I was trying to look at the map, the zoning map, and see exactly where this M3 or the district was. So I was looking for some clarification as to where exactly these businesses would be allowed to set up shop. And also I was wondering about, there was a gentleman on the phone speaking earlier about pollution, air pollution, water pollution, and other other fallout that comes from the manufacturing of cannabis and cannabis products. I'm not sure, but I have a feeling it might not smell too pleasant. I'm not an expert, but I was wondering if you could just clarify for me where in the town that zone is, and who, I know this is all new in the state. So about regulations, we talked a little bit about who's overseeing, what happens as far as legalities in the business and making sure that they are held accountable for maintaining the highest level of professionalism for our town and our residents. Thank you.
Pardon me, but we want to go back to the second question because I don't think I got all of it. But let's start with the first one. So there are industrial zones already that are labeled as M3. So those, throughout the borough, again, they generally are not abutting residential neighborhoods. So I don't know if you have a copy. I think there are copies out there, but they're shaded. Looks like Goulden's mustard colored areas.
Okay.
You're looking at South Clinton, along South Clinton, and then also along Metuchen Road. So, not retail or not residential areas. It's not going to be like a strip mall where you might have a strip mall that's very close to residential areas. I'm not exactly sure how close like the South Clinton gets to certain residential areas, but I don't believe it's abutting any of those directly, the best of my recollection. So, these are generally in what we would call, industrial or commercial areas, non-retail, like not office parks or anything like that. So again, that area along South Clinton, it's on the far side of town, and then also along Metuchen Road.
Okay, thank you.
What was the second question?
I was asking about who's overseeing, ensuring that there are oversight.
Regulations and enforcement.
Right.
Yeah,
Regulations.
so we don't know, but we would guess that the state is going to put together probably something similar to what you see for alcohol, right? There's an alcohol beverage commission that essentially enforces all of the regulations that are put upon the owner of a retail establishment with a liquor license or anything like that. So I've had a number of conversations with the council president and some of the board members. We just don't know. We think there are going to be regulations. Unfortunately, the state is a little behind the ball in passing these, and yet the deadline for towns to make a decision as to what they are going to do was not pushed back to allow for municipalities to see what those final regulations are like.
Okay.
I think that's why you're seeing a lot of towns probably pass on retail marijuana establishments, retail stores, recreational stores, because you just don't know what those regulations are going to be.
Right.
When you look at the manufacturing and the wholesaling and the distribution, these are. We would think there would be some regulations on there. They're generally, again, in the industrial areas. They shouldn't have much impact on residents, but we would expect that there would be regulatory impact upon those operators, not necessarily on the borough. Anything that the borough might have to enforce upon somebody looking to open up, whether it's a manufacturer, wholesale, or something like that, generally should come in front of one of the boards, whether that's the planning board or zoning board. If somebody actually puts forward an application to open, one of those up in these zones that we've set aside.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hold on, sir, online. We have a couple more people in the audience, and since we're going back to you, let's just take the couple of folks in the audience here. We will get back to you.
Good evening. My name is Christine Lee, and I live over Atlantic Street on the other side of town. I have two parts to my question. The first one is, we have two flavor companies in town, and sometimes in the morning, you can hear the smell of what they're making, dog food, chocolate. How are you going to control the cannabis smell in the air? And the second part is, if we don't like what's going on, do we have an out?
So how would we control?
I know, it'll start to smell like skunk in the morning in the whole town.
Yeah, so there's no cultivation, which, based on what we know today, whether it's cultivation for the medical industry, we do know that there are cases of towns, even neighboring towns, where a cultivator may be operating that does, have issues with aromas in the air, for lack of a better word. I don't think that becomes necessarily a case in the manufacturing of it. Again, we don't 100% know. What I would say as far as wholesaling and distribution, your general warehousing, those are going to be packaged products. Usually you're talking about the gummy varieties and stuff like that. So there's plenty of companies in town here, and maybe I'll single one about, like Royal Coffee. They import, the green coffee bean, stores hundreds of thousands of pounds within the borough. You probably drive past it a number of times a week and you would never know. There are systems for these warehouses and manufacturers and distributors where you have, air quality control mechanisms within the building to control that. If somebody operates and they are in violation of that, are we going to have a way to punish them? I would think so. Again, this gets back to my point. Unfortunately, there are no regulations that we can look at to say specifically what we could do if somebody's in violation of something like that.
Is this something the state decided that we should do? Is like one of the low-cost housing? Is that how that came about?
No, you and I. This was a ballot question.
No, I mean for this, I understand for the state of New Jersey.
Right.
But I mean for the town of South Plainfield.
The governing body is to decide. So what?
Okay.
So what the state allowed when medical, or when, I keep saying medical, forgive me, when retail or recreational, and now I say recreational marijuana was passed as a ballot issue, it gave towns the ability to opt out. So that you don't have to allow anything. You don't have to allow warehousing, cultivating, warehousing, distribution, retail. You could pass on all of that. You can also then decide to pick of those things. Maybe we want to allow this or we don't want to allow that. So they did give you some ability to do that, which I think is wholly weird.
Okay.
There's no other industry in the world where the municipality can decide that we don't like this particular thing, and so we're not going to allow it. So while I appreciate the ability that they give the municipalities, I think it's weird. Again, if you didn't like tattoos, we couldn't decide we're not going to allow a tattoo parlor. You have to allow, for those things within your municipality. You can restrict them to certain zones, but you generally can't just decide you're not going to do anything. Recreational marijuana is a little bit different. They have given the municipalities the ability to pick which of these classes that they were going to allow, if any. So the governing body has picked those three, I think it's three, right? Manufacturing, wholesale, and distributors. Those are what's proposed. That's what the governing body passed on introduction, and that's what's up for final adoption today. just those 3 classes would be allowed to operate in the borough. Next door, Piscataway, Edison, or whatever, they could allow all of them, they could allow none of them, or again, they could allow certain ones.
Okay.
Each
Yeah,
municipality has the ability to do
Sure.
what they wish.
And do you have an out if we don't like the way it's going? I mean, like if crime is up, or, you know, if they're getting hit a lot,
What
you
is
know,
it? There,
I
yeah,
don't remember what the
break-ins and
time
stuff.
frame
I think,
was.
is there,
I believe
Once you
whatever's
pass it.
passed tonight will be grandfathered, and you cannot opt out.
yeah.
It's after 5 years, if we decided that we didn't want to do anything and took action that none of us could accept this at this time, we could do nothing until the state gives us a mandate of what they're going to do. They haven't done that. So if you opted out, you could come back in 3 months from now and pass.
Okay.
But our board has decided that they were going to put these 3 before you.
Okay.
And so, yes, and if these 3 pass, they're grandfathered. There's nothing we can do.
Nothing we can do.
Now,
We're stuck, our hands are
what-
tied.
Excuse me, Mayor. Paul, can I get some clarification on that? Because after I talked to you, you said that no matter what happens tonight, we can always change it. We just have to adopt it.
Well, it's kind of halfway between what you're both saying. Anybody that starts the business is grandfathered,
right.
Right.
but you can
Correct.
change
Started
the
it.
ordinance a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, and bar future businesses. Okay, but
Correct.
anybody else that starts under this ordinance is grandfathered.
Right.
We're stuck with
That's
whatever
exactly
we
what,
get.
once they start, they're grandfathered. If this gets passed and somebody starts a business, they're grandfathered. There's nothing we can do.
Wow.
Assuming that there is no regulation that passes that they would then be in violation of, that then the municipality would have something similar to what you can do with bars, right? So if a bar is violating their liquor license, there is a process where you can go in there and, you know, the state can essentially fine them but we don't know what's
Look
going
how long it took to get rid of liquid assets.
Yeah, I don't
I mean, that was a
remember.
legal business, but it was do it legal, and it took a long time
know.
for those residents to be relieved of that problem.
You're absolutely right.
So that's what I'm thinking of when you're talking about this. Like, what happens if it's not going the way of, like, the same way as liquid assets?
To be honest, I
We're
think
stuck.
it would be an uphill battle, but we don't know.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Mayor,
Ms. Cullen.
Mayor, if I can real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, as Darlene's walking up.
I just wanted to clarify what you know, and back up what you said is that these are not retail establishments that are in this ordinance. Those are banned throughout the town. These are no different than any warehouse, and they cannot sell to any member of the public. You know, and just so everybody knows, our neighboring towns of Plainfield, Edison, Scotch Plains, and Middlesex and Highland Park, let's say, Highland Park, Edison, and Plainfield are permitting all classes, including retail establishments. Scotch Plains and Middlesex are allowing all classes and medical marijuana. So, you know, this affects all of us around the neighboring towns. But at the end of the day, here in South Plainfield, you won't be able to purchase it in person. But to the person who commented, you could just go over to the neighboring town and buy it, and there would still be some issues. But this ordinance does not permit the retail establishment of anybody going into anywhere to purchase anything. It's no different than a warehouse or a manufacturer that we have.
Ms. Cullen.
Hi, Darlene Cullen, 430 Hamilton Boulevard. I think my question is for you, Paul.
Thank you.
I just want an understanding, since the regulations aren't set by the state yet. If this ordinance does not get approved, and then the regulations do come out, can then the town reconsider?
Well, at this point, if this ordinance didn't pass, then we will not have taken action by the deadline.
Right.
Which then means all businesses can operate in this town.
For
At
5
this
years, I
point.
think, right?
Oh,
What's that?
okay.
And for 5 years? No?
For the next
It's
5
not,
years, yes.
yeah.
So then you're telling me you more or less have to take some kind of action to protect that we don't have retail
Yes.
and so on and so forth in the
Yes.
town?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to take action, I think it's August 21, I mean, the deadline's here.
Okay.
And if you don't take any action, then all forms of the business are permissible. So at this point, if this ordinance didn't pass, then all the businesses.
So your action cannot be that we are against any type, any class coming to town.
It could have.
No, it could be.
It could have been.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but at this point, there is no ordinance introduced to ban all of these. The decision was made to have these types of businesses. So, once we've gotten to this point, like I said, the only alternative is to allow everything.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I understand it much
That's a
better,
good
thank
point,
you.
Darlene.
It just, I think it's really unfair on the towns, since the regulations aren't set by the state.
I agree.
And no, this is not a reflection on anyone up there, but this is ass backwards. Okay, we should need to know what we're getting into before we introduce any type of ordinance. But that being said, I do perfectly understand if we don't do anything, then we're opening ourselves up.
Right.
Am I correct in that?
Yes, to everything.
And that's a very good point, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Bechtel.
Cindy Eichler, 2504 Park Avenue. I guess my question, and you just clarified it also by saying, if it had been denied previously, if we had been against it previously,
Right,
and not allowed it, they would not be allowed.
that's correct.
They would not be allowed to do this now.
That's correct.
But now that we're allowing these three types, what is the benefit to these three types coming into our town?
Well, what I would tell you is it allows the municipality to charge a small sales tax. Now, some people consider that a benefit, some people don't. I don't necessarily think that's a benefit, but that's what's in the ordinance. It's also what the state allows.
Okay. And as far as going to other towns, I guess I have a problem with being compared to the other towns, saying, well, the other towns are going to do it, so that means we have to do it because the other towns are going to do it. I don't think that's fair either, because we
Correct.
should be able to be our own town and do what we want to do with our own town. And I just have the same fears as everybody else. With the smells, as Chrissy said, with the smells in town, now we're at a point where we have no choice. You have to vote on this now, whereas now it's hindsight from the original ordinance being introduced.
Yep.
That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else in the council chambers? I think there's a gentleman that wanted to go back. All right, we'll go back online briefly. Mr. Grimes.
Evening, Council. This is Edward Lefty Grimes with SativaCross.org, 501c3 in New Jersey, fight for disabled vets, disabled people, people that are sick and dying and suffering. We're fighting for them, cannabis patients. And let me just say that you have drug dealers in Plainfield, South Plainfield, North Plainfield that are selling drugs right now and not checking IDs. They're not being taxed. They're not checking IDs, and they also have methamphetamine and fentanyl and heroin to sell your children. You don't see that in the dispensaries. You don't see that at liquor stores. So that's what a regulated market does. It keeps it out of the hands of children. You see union workers driving these trucks. They're not going to give up their wages and their insurance and their good paying job to stop and give some kid some weed out of their truck. That's not going to happen. And if it does happen, there'll be consequences for that. You're breaking the law. You're committing a felony. And those are felonies. Normally, this would happen without them getting caught because there's a black market, and this is happening all the time where your children are being exposed to other drugs besides cannabis from the black market. Because drug dealers don't care. They will have other drugs, and they will not card you. My friend Jay in Plainfield called me one day. He said, Lefty, I saw how you got off all those pills and drugs, because I was on OxyContin, Roxicodone, Lyrica, Neurontin for 10 years because I have an artificial disc, L4, L5, I have a fusion, L5S1, I have 2-level cervical fusion here, and I was on these drugs for years. 90 milligrams every 3 hours was my dose for Roxicodone, which is an insane amount. It's basically a terminal cancer amount, the amount of drugs I was getting. And it was very hard to get off that amount of drugs, but I did it. The pain that I'm in, 9 out of 10 pain. Today especially, I'm in really bad pain right now. 9 out of 10 pain. I was able to get off those drugs. My friend Jay calls me, says, Lefty, I saw how you get off all those drugs. Says, I want to get off pills too. He was struggling with heroin addiction and pill addiction. He said, I need to get off these pills, Lefty. How do I do it? So I told him, I said, here, this is what you have to do. You have to go through, get a doctor, have to go jump through all the hoops that they put in front of you. And here's some money you have to spend on a doctor, on all this stuff, on the medical cannabis. And it was too much for him. And 2 weeks later, he wound up going to Plainfield and getting some heroin on the street in Plainfield and dying and overdosing because medical cannabis wasn't available. Any cannabis was available that would help him. And me, I have regrets. I should have went there that day and given him a tithing, just given him some weed. So I live with that regret that I didn't go there and just help him and give him something. But I live with that. But I'm not going to live with that anymore. I'm going to make sure that anybody that I know that's struggling with addiction is going to have cannabis. And they're going to get gifted from me. I will gift you some cannabis if you're struggling, if you can't get it. It's called a tithing, and that's what Christians are supposed to do. We're supposed to put the last first and help the sick and the dying. And I think we lost that plot here in New Jersey. A lot of towns have lost the compassion. And I think you do have compassion in this town, and I appreciate you allowing for medical. I think you need to consider where you're going to zone a medical dispensary and where you're going to help people at. But I really do appreciate that, and our disabled community in our group definitely appreciates that. And we see you guys. So thank you very much, and thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Going once, twice. Close the public portion. Council comments on the final adoption of ordinance 2207.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure, Councilman Smith.
Yes. I voted no on this ordinance passing in the first time, and I'll tell you why. When the state of New Jersey cannot give us a mandate of how we're going to regulate, how licenses are going to be issued, I feel that I was put here by the people of South Plainfield to stand up for them and what we believe is right. And until the state of New Jersey can come to us and give us the guidelines of how a license is going to be issued, how it's going to be controlled, how it's going to be mandated, I still will vote no, that we should not do this. Now we are in a bind because we have passed an ordinance by first reading. Here we are tonight that we have to do this. And if you go to the New Jersey League of Municipalities, they will tell you that a license is probably not going to be issued for a good 6 months to a year anyway, because they still haven't decided how they are going to do it. But yet here we are forced to make a decision before our state gives us the guidelines, the mandates, and everything else we do for our people. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
I just want to remind everybody, there is no retail in South Plainfield. There'll be no retail in South Plainfield. There'll be no stores in South Plainfield. No one will be able to buy anything from the town of South Plainfield other than wholesales, retails, and wholesale distribution. It won't be touched by anybody other than the workers transporting things around. So I just wanted to mention that. And I yield.
Okay. Any other council comments?
No.
Okay. Well, I mean, I agree with Councilman Smith. Yeah, go ahead. Councilman Benjamini.
Yeah, I do. I do understand Councilman Smith's point, and I do understand, Councilman Wallach. I think that one of the reasons why I'm voting for this is because it is only the manufacturing, wholesale, and distribution. No different than some of the pharmaceutical companies that we have in town that do offer, prescription opioids or anything like that, or hazardous materials that we can't control. As members of planning boards or land use boards, I sit on a planning board in the past, and when something that's already in the zone, whether it's manufacturing, a wholesale, or distribution of any other thing, it can't be denied, even if you ask them what's in it. It's no different. This brings in ratables just like those. This brings in good jobs just like those. And it brings in the added benefit of the added revenue. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we have a balance here in South Plainfield, that we put in place things that decide, push ahead and put forward the industry part of our town, but at the same time protect our family values by not allowing the retail aspects to our residents and making sure that we can keep our town safe. You see, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we protect ourselves from anything, that's out there. As Mr. Grimes said, there's a lot of things that happen with PTSD and with the medical issues. I work that has a medical marijuana distributor, which is Phillipsburg. It's one of the cleanest and best operations I've ever seen. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we have a safe and a good working environment for everybody here in Southland. That's what I'm putting it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. At this point, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll on 2207?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
No.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
No.
And that passes 4-2.
Okay, thank you. Also for final adoption, ordinance 2209.
Bond ordinance of the Borough of South Plainfield in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $649,000 for improvements to various roads, including $250,000 of an amount not needed for its original purpose, and authorizing the issuance of $380,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for final adoption on ordinance 2209?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilwoman Mott. Again, as this is for final adoption, we'll open it up for public comments regarding the adoption of ordinance 2209. Expect far less interest in 2209. I am validated correct. Close the public portion. Council comments on ordinance 2209. Seeing none, Ms. Antonides, can you call a roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini. Councilwoman Mott.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. For introduction, ordinance 2210.
An ordinance amending ordinance 2143 that amends and codifies ordinances 730, 922, 115, 1184, 1363, and 2143 that establishes a state uniform construction code enforcing agency and fees in the borough of South Plainfield, County Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2210?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilwoman Mott. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini. Councilwoman Mott.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Also for introduction, ordinance 2211.
An ordinance vacating the borough's authority and control over a portion of Pomponial Avenue in Borough of South Plainfield, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2211?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Smith. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga. Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Just a reminder, ordinance 2212 was tabled until the next meeting. Ordinance 2210 and 2211 will have their public hearing set for September 7th at approximately 7 p.m. Can I get a motion for resolution 21-232 through 21-251?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Wolak, seconded by Council President White. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Bullock.
Yes.
Council President White.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. We have a number of items for correspondence. The recycling monthly report for June, environmental monthly report for June, Board of Health June, zoning board minutes for October 6th and October 20th, 2020, code enforcement lien report, environmental commission minutes for June of 9th of 2021, community pool statistics report, which I encourage you to take a look at, and finance bond anticipation notes cost schedule. Can I get a motion for the correspondence?
So move.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilwoman Faustini. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President White?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for payment of the bills of $3,093,731.58?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Woloch. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faustini?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
I'd like to say no, but yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
And Council President White?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Rizzo, anything for us tonight?
No, Mr. Mayor, progress.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'll give you an update on the road projects. We should have asked Mr. Stillo before he left when he's going to get out to Durham. They're supposed to be out there next week, I believe. I'm still looking for a schedule. Metuchen Avenue, we awarded tonight. We got a good price on that. It came in about $120,000 underneath the estimate. We're setting up a pre-construction meeting with that. We'll get that going as soon as we can. And again, the majority of that work will be done at night to not interfere with the truck traffic. We're going out to bid. It'll be in the paper on Wednesday for another repaving project for the town. And we'll award that at the September 7th meeting. And PSE&G is continuing on their project to restore some of the roads that they put their trenching in, their milling and repaving, and that's ongoing, and we're working with them continually to keep that job going with that progress.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Cullen?
Yeah, Mayor, just one in real quick regarding what Mr. Miller said is that road job on Durham Avenue that he mentioned with Mr. Stillo, that's actually going to go from New Durham all the way to Hamilton Boulevard. Similarly, Middlesex County is going to be paving from Hamilton Boulevard to Stelton Road, with the exception of that portion between South Clinton and the Hamilton Boulevard Bridge. But essentially, I guess where you would get off at exit 4 and exit 5, all that area is going to be done. It's all being done it's supposed to start at the end of this month, so there are some coordination issues that are going on. But that work is going to take place at night, including with the county. So just wanted to know that. I'm very pleased with, and when it looks at the final numbers that we received on the short-term notes that we issued, almost $6.5 million. We obtained an interest rate of 0.2661%, so less than 1/3% on all 3 bids, and the winner was Oppenheimer. And I'll just mention, based on you saying about our statistics, these were through July 31st. We had almost 1,000 memberships between, family, senior, individual, and obviously through the end of July, we also had over 1,200 daily passes issued. I know this past Sunday we had a lot of people at the pool, so a lot of this is new to us. Maybe we'll look in the future to see if things are too crowded. Maybe next year we're thinking about tweaking maybe the daily passes, but the pool's been real busy.
Yep.
So, and very, very pleased. It's actually, I think, I've been a member most of my life. I don't know how far I go back, but it looks like the pool this year is going to make its first profit, in at least 3 decades. So,
Knock on whatever manufactured wood this is.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
and with that, progress.
Perfect. Ms. Antonides?
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Smith?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Rizzo for all his knowledge and giving us the guidance with this ordinance and explaining things to us so that we can make a decision accordingly. I'd like to thank Mr. Miller and Mr. Cullen for the great jobs that they do for this town. But more importantly, I'd like to thank our chief of police and pray that our police officers keep safe in everything that they have to go through in these trying times with the laws the way they are written and the way they're proposed to us at this time. And with that, Mayor, I yield.
Thank you. Councilwoman Faustini.
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Benjavenga.
Progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Wallach.
I'm going to take a little turn and say something personal today. I'm going to wish my daughter Jennifer and my granddaughter Ava safe travels tomorrow to Colorado Springs. There have been a lot of things stopping them from going. They're finally leaving tomorrow, God willing. So I just want to wish them well. Thank you.
God bless.
Excellent.
We all wish him well.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Councilwoman Mott.
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I knew I should have went with you before Wallach. Council President White.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just 3 quick items here. First is the 9/11 ceremony, the borough-wide community's ceremony for 9/11's 20-year anniversary will be held on 9/11 at 12:45 at Monument Park, working closely with the Elks to pull together the presentation and then the ceremony and everything. So please come out, participate in that. Also, LA Fitness has started their construction again over at Oak Park Commons. And I want to just personally thank Jack and his team from Shop One that owns the mall. They did a lot of work negotiating hard to get that deal back on track with the close down. And LA Fitness had stopped all their projects throughout the country. And they're going to go ahead and follow through with this project. So that's going to be a nice win over there. They'll be right next to Aldi's, swimming pool, the whole 9. So great work by them. And lastly, I met with the owners of Hadley Center last week. And they have this new concept. It's called Jeff Works. And it's actually what they're calling a co-work space. And it has an opportunity for people to pay a monthly fee, which I can't believe is only $10. The price point is phenomenal. And you have unlimited access to their workspace as your own workspace. They'll have 2 conference rooms. You can schedule with an app. You go to the door, you scan the code. It'll let you into this conference room. They have what they're calling Zoom. What is it called? Zoom booths, because it's like a telephone booth. So we're going old school with like a telephone booth, but for Zoom. So combine the old school and new school. And, there'll be all kinds of resources and equipment there. So hopefully by the beginning of September, they'll be opening that up and marketing that. And it looks like it's going to be great, especially for a lot of independent businesses that opened during COVID. It'll give them a price point and a location where they can do business, but not have the heavy overhead of renting a location. So I wanted to thank JJ and Harrison from National for that.
Great concept.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I was floored
Yeah.
that they came up with it. I wish I had gotten in on the ground floor of that one, but it would have been a conflict of interest, right, Mr. Rizzo? Absolutely. So with that, progress, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. At this point, we will open it up for public comments. Anything on your mind?
Mr. Mayor, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I raised my
Oh.
hand, but I guess you didn't see it.
No.
I did want to add one more thing before we open it up for public comment. I just wanted to say thank you. I think everyone by now has, been driving around and saw the brand new sign for the municipal complex that was donated by the South Plainfield Library and Library Board. If you haven't, take a look. It's, really nice and really dresses up the front of Borough Hall and also really lets everybody know not only, everything that's back there, the library, the municipal building, Willow Park, police department. So I just wanted to throw a word of thanks out about that. And also, I now realize time is ticking. I do want to take this opportunity to invite everyone out there to our 62nd Labor Day parade that will be on Labor Day. Just remind everybody that we will be having those festivities this year and followed by fireworks in the evening. And now I
Thank you. Okay, we'll open it up for public comments. Anything on your mind? Sir? Yep.
Good,
Good,
how
how
are
are
you?
you?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
My name is David Guarino. I'm on Dorm Avenue. Caesar Bryant and Dinesh Patel are with me here today, too. From some of Mr. Miller's comments, we may be a little late. I mean, I started this 35 years ago. I came here asking for trucks to be taken off Dorm Avenue 35 years ago. I guess it made an impression on Mayor Gallagher because he immediately put me on the traffic safety board in town. I spent some years on that, working with people in town and all. And actually took my little project here along at the time. I was able to get some things that I got a resolution from the town saying they agreed with us that trucks shouldn't be on Dorm Avenue. Ended up learning that the state actually controls Dorm Avenue. And that actually presented some complexities in the process. And I had spent quite a few years working with Mr. Anderson, a couple of years working with Mr. Anderson at the state, and then he ended up moving along. And I was trying to figure out why in 1989 I kind of dropped this like a hot potato. I also had a 1-year-old son at the time. Another child was going to be coming there not too long after. And I started realizing that life kind of got in the way, but the trucks never stopped. They keep coming. I wondered, my second, besides asking for trucks off the road, my second comment would be, are there any plans for Dorm Avenue right now that we may not be aware of? And it sounds like there are. I mean, I see markings all over the road all the time. You want to say something, Ms. Miller?
Well,
I'm sorry, just about.
yes, there are plans. We're going to repave the road. The road's going to be repaired in the areas that it needs repaired. We're going to upgrade the storm sewers, and the road's going to be repaved.
Is this anything like the repair that was done on Hadley, or is this more like a light kind of repair?
It's like Hadley Road.
So it's like down 2 feet and kind of, you know?
No, well, oh no, not Hadley Road all those years ago when they go down 2 foot. No, we're not going down 2 foot. We're going to
Because, you know, I've been there 35 years, maybe more, a little bit. And it's been paved half a dozen times, maybe more in that time. It never lasts. I mean, we sit here, you would not believe what it's like. You have to live there. And it's like, we're all there. I mean, we love living in town, and it's all good. But, you know, there's got to be something more that can be done with the road. That, first of all, it's now 100% residential because you have 1111 going on. How many units are going in 1111, may I ask?
410.
How many?
410.
410.
410, yeah.
Yeah, that's a few more residents in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Is there any stomach for the town to go to this state and say, you know, we now have a new 410 unit project going in on Durham. We feel that, you know, people should not be, you know, their lives, you know, turned around by having all the havoc created by, you know, it's not just a few trucks.
Yeah.
This is not a few trucks. First of all, there's a massive number of cars. But the other thing is there's a lot of trucks. And there's plenty of alternate routes for trucks. We all know that.
Yep. So you give me an opportunity to get on my council on affordable housing horse again. But so there's 410 units coming to town, you're correct, not by any desire of myself or any member of the governing body here. It's the Council of Affordable Housing, which under Christie was essentially abolished, but not really. And so the court stepped in, and I'll spare you the 2-hour lecture we could go into. So that's why they're coming. Is there any appetite to go to the state and see if they can, I'll leave that in, can be blocked on that portion? Well, I would think there are still a couple of businesses that are, you know.
There's a nursing home, and there's on the right at 287.
There's a couple right on the, or at least one right on the corner, and then Westbrook.
I mean, local traffic's not an issue.
Yeah, and I hear you. Look, if it's possible, Mr. Miller, I don't know if there's anything that you could look into. My guess is that that the state, I don't know that they would do anything like that.
Well, I mean, we have an interchange there.
Yes, which is
off of an interstate.
correct.
I don't think you're going to be able to get trucks eliminated
Yeah.
from the ramp off of an interstate. And we do have a history, and we have an awful lot of industry in town.
Yes.
And while there might be some other routes.
I mean, it's a shortcut. Let's be serious, it's a shortcut to go and use that 9.9 miles of Durham Avenue. It's a shortcut. There's many alternate ways. They're going over to Edison, over New Brunswick Road area over there.
So wait, you're
just talking about when you come off to the left.
You're just talking about going to the
They're
left.
at the end.
To New Durham.
Heading from between New Durham and 287.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was talking, I'm not talking about the remainder. I think the remainder is impossible. There's no way that
There's-
would happen. But if there is no industry down there, look, I don't know, we can look into
There's
it.
zero
Yeah.
industry,
Well,
there's
you're
410, I'd like to
essentially-
know more, I guess I should have been paying more attention. But there's 410, these are they all low-income housing, or is
No,
it?
no.
No, no, no.
Just a certain portion of it, whatever.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask the
I know, I
gentleman a
know.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're suggesting, when you're saying it's a shortcut to come off at 287 there, to go from there to there, let me finish,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
You're thinking that
I'm
the
trying to
best route for them
understand
to be is to go across onto Hadley, down to Stoughton, make the left, and come back because of the businesses that are on New Durham down that way?
There are no businesses on Durham. There are
New
busi-
Durham.
New Durham,
Yes.
287, I mean, why would you get
Well,
off?
well, I'm asking you, if you're, because what's there is,
There's no industrial businesses on New Durham between Stelton Road and Talmadge. There's no there's, Barton Landscape, there's Capola Landscape, and there's
there's the-
corporate
there-
park out
there's
at the other
General
end.
plumbing is there. as
there's
well.
General Plumbing, isn't there, on the other side there, closer to the Pizza Hut, you have Napa
Local
Lighting,
trucks.
the
Local
the
trucks,
Restaurant
but
Depot and stuff, but those trucks go,
That's New Durham.
that's what I said, New Durham. So you're suggesting, instead of going Durham to New Durham, you're suggesting them to go down Hadley to Stoughton, back to New Durham to deliver to those routes. That's all I'm asking.
I'm suggesting they could get off at 287 and come up Route 27 and go through that industrial area there and go up onto Stelton Road. Or they could, and if they're coming from the south, that's the fastest way to go. And if they're coming from the north, they would get off at exit 5 on 287 and go to Stelton Road. It's quite simple.
All I'm saying, Mr. Miller, is I think we can reach out to the Department of Transportation. We can see if that's even possible. I know you're saying it isn't. It
Because
isn't.
they don't like to listen too well.
Well, I mean, that's what you have to deal. You're gonna have to deal with this, with the state. If that is, like to
It
your point,
is- I
that's an
understand-
access
excuse
point
me,
to
I don't mean to
287.
interrupt. It is a town, I understand it's a state-governed road, but it
Yeah.
is the road is in the town.
I hear you.
And the residents of this town should have some say as to, Andy Stazzone started this in 1975. In 1980, women with empty carriages blocked the road for one day. The town imposed a no-truck route, which later was stopped by the state DOT. I mean, this has been going on a long time,
Yeah,
man.
I hear you.
Long time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous, and now it's even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you got 410 units come there. There's never going to be a better time. I'd like to speak to the attorneys at 1111 and find out what they can add to this discussion and see where we could go with it. Can I get some contact information, sir, on the?
Through what, the developers over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what
It's
was
Edgewood
it was under M&M
M&M.
Realty was the,
I left my pen over there.
is the developer, but I know, yeah, but I think they dissolved that partnership. Shocker.
Thank you.
So I think it's under Edgewater,
Edgewood.
I'm sorry, Edgewood,
Edgewood.
Edgewood Properties.
Or maybe M properties.
You can have dinner in Edgewater.
Piscataway.
Yeah, Piscataway. Yep. Yep. No, M&M Realty was the original developer. One of the principals of Edgewood Properties was one of the M's in there. It's my understanding that he bought out the other M. And so now there's only Edgewood.
One M.
One M.
All right. I guess I have great concerns about all the money that's been spent. I don't know how to turn this off, or whatever, maybe turn me off. But all the money that's been spent paving this road, and I saw what they did on Hadley Road. That was done because it's trucks. If they're not gonna take trucks off the road, I'm not gonna stand by and let them put a little Band-Aid over this road. It's just not gonna work. I mean,
Mhm.
50 years, people have been complaining about this. Many councils, many mayors,
Mhm.
and, now, I don't see how it serves any of us well by just doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm gonna be back here if I don't die first, but I'll be back here again someday, complaining, and, I don't know. It's, maybe Edgewood Properties has some people that can help me too, and,
Maybe.
well, I don't know.
Maybe.
It can't hurt their market.
It can't. No, it can't.
It can't hurt their market.
It definitely can't.
And,
Yeah.
One more thing. So if we can't get trucks off that road, which is probably going to be the case, you would be more enticed to have them pave the road so that it can handle the truck traffic that it is there.
I know I read on the line, you're into woodwork, or you do something with wood.
Yes. Oh, good.
Last 50 years.
God bless you. The smell of Spanish cedar. No, but I mean, to answer my question, is that would be something that would be more
More, but it would be better than
than what they're doing? Okay.
you know. I mean, it makes logical sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Ms. Boyle? I don't know, there should be a button on that if it turned off.
Halfway down the top.
Valerie probably died.
Oh, did it? I don't know. That's okay. Just speak loudly.
Just hold it.
Okay.
Okay, Debbie Boyle, Van Fleet. The South Plainfield Education Foundation is hosting, after almost 3 years, the 5K race and family walk on September 6th over by the middle school and in the same path as always. Mayor, would you be able to post that on the borough website?
Sure.
I know it's posted on
Yep.
the police marquees,
Yes,
but do you think you could do that?
we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay, we'll close the public portion. Yeah. And close the public portion. We are going into executive session. We'll be back as quickly as possible.